Welcome to this explainer. Okay, to start off, I want you to think about a word that we use literally every single day. The word is region. We talk about the regional weather forecast, regional politics, the Middle East, or even just the region of the country we grew up in. But here's the crazy paradox. This everyday word that rolls right off our tongues is actually a massive, super complex geographical puzzle. So today we're going to break down exactly what a region actually is, how these lines get drawn on a map, and why those boundaries fundamentally shape human development.
Right, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll hit the definition dilemma, then move to untangling space, area, and region. After that, we'll look at objective versus subjective regions, cover 3 ways to draw lines, and finally, wrap up with the goal, regional development.
Section 1. The definition dilemma. A village or a group of nations. To really grasp what a region is, we first have to tackle a massive scale problem that geographers face all the time. Actually, academics really struggle to even define it. Why? Because the term is just incredibly elastic. Depending on who you're talking to, a region can be an entire group of nations, think of the European Union, or it can be a single state, a district, or even just a tiny remote village. The core problem here is that geographers find it scientifically difficult to pin down exactly what a region is because it's inextricably linked to our understanding of space. Basically, until we define space, we can't define a region.
Section 2. Space, area, or region, untangling the confusion.
So because these 3 words, space, area, and region, are used so interchangeably in casual conversation, it creates massive confusion. Let's establish our building blocks. First, think about space. By definition, space is simply a 3-dimensional boundless void. It has absolutely no structure, no organization whatsoever. It's merely a theoretical setting where objects exist. An area, on the other hand, is fundamentally different from a boundless void because it actually has limits.
For that boundless void of space to transform into an area, it absolutely must possess 4 specific properties: scale, location, content, and boundary. In simple terms, it has to have a size, a place, things inside it, and an edge. Think of it like drawing a random square on a map of a huge desert. What's super important to note here is that an area may or may not possess any sort of uniformity. It is literally just a bounded box of stuff. So how does an area level up and become a region? A region is an area, meaning it already has that scale, location, content, and boundaries, but it deliberately adds something special to the mix: homogeneity, organization, or maybe elements of both. It takes that random bounded box in the desert and gives it a distinct character. It's like suddenly realizing that everything inside your box is covered in a very specific, unique type of red sand.
But having this rigid, scientific formula, area plus homogeneity equals region, leaves us with a very practical and honestly highly political question. Who actually draws the lines? Who gets to look at a map and decide what makes an area homogeneous enough to become an official region?
Section 3. Objective versus subjective regions, the human element.
To figure out who is drawing those lines, we can look at a framework established by Fisher and West back in 1969. They classified regions into 2 distinct types. The first is what they called the objective region. These are the hard official lines you see on maps. They are collectivities defined from very specific authoritative angles. Think of rigid political borders drawn up by governments, established economic trade zones, or undeniable geographical barriers like the Rocky Mountains. These are the concrete regions codified in Alice's. But Fisher and West noted something really fascinating about how we humans actually interact with these official lines. They wrote that each individual is constantly trying to adjust his subjective region to the objective region. Think about that in your own life for a second. You have this subjective region in your head, right? Your own personal feeling of where your neighborhood begins and ends, or where your local community thrives. But that deeply felt, invisible border often clashes with the objective region, like your official zip code or the city limits. Your subjective experience is usually trapped inside a larger, much colder objective boundary, and we spend our lives mentally trying to reconcile those 2 things.
Actually, this exact conflict is why Ziolkowski, also in 1969, offered this incredibly beautiful human-centric definition. He said a region is a group of people living together in a given area, under conditions of mutual interdependence, experiencing similarity of traits, and sharing a sense of common solidarity. I love that because it shows that at their very core, regions aren't just invisible lines or bounding boxes. They are deeply human concepts built on community and shared survival.
Section 4, 3 ways to draw lines. Richardson's methodology.
So, keeping all that human solidarity in mind, we need to see exactly how academics categorize these boundaries in practice. According to Richardson's 1973 framework, there are 3 broad methods for drawing the lines. First up is homogeneity. This draws a line around areas that share certain distinct factors. Think of the Rust Belt in the US, a region defined by a dominant shared industry. Second is nodality. This draws a region based on a central hub, meaning the region has a dominant city that organizes the space around it. A great example is how the entire metro area of Tokyo acts as a massive gravitational pull for the surrounding prefectures. And third is programming. This defines a region specifically as a targeted area for government or economic development, kind of like an enterprise zone.
Section 5, the goal, regional development, tying it all together.
All right, this brings us to the narrow tip of our conceptual funnel. Why do we even care about boundaries, homogeneity, or nodes? Well, because all these abstract academic definitions exist for one reason: to impact real human development. It is literally a living, breathing cycle. Foundational traits like homogeneity and nodality flow directly into defining a region. Interlocking with that is programming, which is the deliberate planning aspect we just talked about. That programming directs its energy into the regional sphere, pushing directly into real-world development. And here is the ultimate twist. That new development feeds right back into the system, fundamentally altering the region's original traits. The way we draw the lines drives development, and that development turns around and redefines the region all over again. It's amazing. We've journeyed from the boundless, structureless void of space all the way down to the intricate cycles of human development. So I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Tomorrow, when you're on your daily commute or just walking through your neighborhood, try looking at it through the analytical eyes of a geographer. Ask yourself, is the place you call home defined by shared traits, the gravitational pull of a central city, or is it a product of top-down human programming? The answer might just change the way you see your place in the world. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me today on This Explainer. See you next time.